It's great to be here at Techcrunch today. My name is John Sabes, CEO, founder of FOXO Technologies. Erin Sharoni, our Chief Product Officer, was supposed to be here, but due to COVID, she gave me the opportunity to present, and I'm happy to be here talking about FOXO and longevity science. So, we'll kick this off with a quiz. What do China's first emperor, 16th century French nobles, and Queen Elizabeth II all have in common? The answer is on the slide. It's, of course, longevity. For China's emperor, it was a quest for longevity that drove him to issue executive orders to find potions that would give him eternal life. For France's medieval nobles, it was drinking liquid gold with the belief that it would extend eternal life. And for Queen Elizabeth, it was 70 years of healthy, productive service, 70 years of longevity. Yet, as so far as kings and queens, nobles, emperors go, they all operate on the same playing field as us in one critical way. We all have a limited lifespan, and none of us knows exactly how long we have to live. In fact, many of us don't like to even think about it. We don't like to think about it in contextual terms, such as how many times do we get to ride on this blue planet Earth around the sun? It's a finite number. And with all the marvels of modern technology, the one thing that has changed so dramatically is increased life expectancy due to modern medicine. But I'm here to tell you that the best is yet to come. In 2003, the human genome was decoded at a cost of $3 billion. And that decoding of the human genome led to luminaries speaking of the biological century, where we could expect revolutionary developments in precision-based therapeutic and diagnostic medicine. But over the years, it's felt like those promises have been unanswered. And in many ways, it just doesn't feel like they've delivered. My message to you today is this time it's different. Today, right now, there's a dramatic increase in the progress and understanding of human longevity science and how it impacts our life and health span. So why is longevity science accelerating right now? The answer is simple. It's low-cost DNA sequencing technology coupled with artificial intelligence and machine learning. These two technology platforms are fundamentally advancing our understanding of how we live and why we age. And it's with these scientific advances comes an opportunity to reframe your company, your product, and your brand towards a longevity economy. This is an opportunity that exists for everyone, for every organization, no matter the brand, the industry, or the sector. We at FOXO are a longevity services company commercializing molecular biomarkers of health and aging in the life insurance industry, one of the largest, oldest financial services industry in the world. Remarkably, this well-resourced industry that actually builds and sells financial products around predicting how long we live seems to have lost its way in what some might call a renaissance in longevity science. We see this clearly in the numbers. Household ownership in the United States of life insurance has dropped from a historical 80% to an all-time low of 50%. This has resulted in a $25 trillion insurance protection gap. So why the disconnect? What went wrong? At its core, we believe the industry lost their relevancy with modern consumers. Surprisingly, it might be that the fact that we have an increased life expectancy that we no longer feel relevant to deal with products and services that are related to our own mortality. This phenomena is known as mortality saliency. And when we think about our own mortality, we tend to put things off. COVID-19 provided us with some very interesting insights on this. When mortality went up, so did life insurance sales, big time. But COVID-19 also taught us that healthy aging and healthy longevity is critical to surviving the threats as we age from virus or disease. We see the future of life insurance to be very exciting and regain its relevancy with and through longevity science. At FOXO, we want to change the conversation in life insurance from death protection to life preservation, and from death benefits for heirs to benefits that help keep you alive and healthy. We believe that advances in longevity science can help us all live each and every one of our days to its fullest potential, and that life insurance powered by longevity science is a perfect way to deliver this. This is a new type of insurance. It's life insurance designed to keep you alive. And at FOXO, we're commercializing a particular area of longevity science known as epigenetic science. Epigenetic science is a revolutionary scientific field that has only recently come into its own. The science of epigenetics refers to the study of our epigenome, and epi refers to an area above the human genome. And unlike our DNA, which is inherited from our parents and fixed at birth, our epigenome is a dynamic biological mechanism that drives our gene expression throughout our entire lifetime. Think for a minute how our genes express if we exercise, eat healthy, sleep 7 hours, or are exposed to positive, healthy stimuli. All of these factors drive gene expression through chemical modifications known as DNA methylation. DNA methylation changes over time and impacts our health and wellness. There are a lot of analogies to help explain the relationship between genetics and epigenetics. I like to think of DNA as sheet music, and our bodies are the instruments through which we can influence and shape the sound of that music. Epigenetics is already able to tell us so much about our own biology, but the potential of epigenetics to tell us more is just beginning. Perhaps one of the most exciting discoveries in longevity science is the epigenetic clock. We all know people age at different rates. Have you attended your high school class reunion yet? The 10-year, the 20-year, or the 30-year reunion? Do some people look older? It's because they are, biologically speaking. And that's because the epigenetic clock is impacting that rate of aging. Today, epigenetic clocks are becoming the de facto standard on how we measure the rate at which we're aging. While scientists have known that we're all aging at different rates, just how to measure these different rates has been a source of dispute. That is until now. The researcher most credited with the discovery of the epigenetic clock is Dr. Steve Horvath at UCLA. Dr. Horvath is a trained geneticist and biostatistician and is also an identical twin. Dr. Horvath was interested in explaining the difference between himself and his genetically identical brother. It was through this inquiry that he discovered that we have all distinct patterns of methylation that predict how old we are chronologically. It was Horvath's follow-up work where he further parsed the DNA methylation patterns to distinguish different rates of biological aging among persons of the similar chronological age. And from that work, his research continued to connect epigenetic aging to behavior, disease, and mortality. What Horvath discovered was that while we're all aging in a fairly predictable rate based upon how many times we've gone around the sun, there are distinct individual rates of aging that we can see at a molecular level, and they are directly related to what we eat, smoke, sleep, etc. You get the idea. A recent book by Dr. Morgan Levine of Yale Medical School, who happened to complete her postdoctorate work with Dr. Steve Horvath at UCLA, is a pioneer in developing epigenetic clocks. And she writes how the epigenetic mechanisms are driving the aging process and what strategies we can embrace to slow down or even reverse aging. She writes, "The power of biological age is that it gives you a glimpse into the possible future, one that you have the power to alter." Slowing the aging process, Levine writes, occurs by not smoking, not drinking, exercising, eating more plants, less meat, and subjecting yourself to less stress. According to Dr. Levine, if we are able to slow our aging process down by 7 years, by the time we celebrate our 70th birthday, if we're biologically aged 63, we will have reduced our risk of disease by 50%. Another longevity researcher, Dr. David Sinclair, describes in his book, Lifespan, the informational theory of aging. Sinclair writes how our cells receive their molecular functioning instructions from the epigenome, and that losing those instructions results in cellular dysfunction, disease, and age. Sinclair maintains that only 20% of our longevity is genetically determined. The rest is what we do, how we live our lives, and increasingly, the molecules we take in. Researchers like Levine and Sinclair are working to extend our longevity by finding different molecules or therapies that can stabilize or even reset the molecular information that keeps our cellular functioning healthy and robust. The reason? Other than occupational hazards or adrenaline junkie sports, aging is our single greatest risk of disease and mortality. Thus, by definition, if we can stabilize the aging process, we can decrease our risk of disease and mortality. At FOXO, we built a longevity report that centers on the epigenetic clock. We've licensed Dr. Steve Horvath's technology exclusively for the life insurance industry, but we're taking his research further. We've added additional epigenetic measures to help inform us on other key biological systems, such as cardiovascular, metabolic, or inflammatory health. Our longevity report also includes an indulgence score to be sure we cover smoking and drinking because they have such a pronounced impact on patterns of DNA methylation. To support this work, the team at FOXO is working with Harvard on their physician's health study. With Harvard, we have completed the epigenetic profiles on over 11,300 participants in a longitudinal study whose blood was taken 15 years ago, exploring how epigenetics can further predict our future health, aging, and mortality is exciting and potentially powerful science. But FOXO, the longevity report, is just the beginning of something bigger, which is the opportunity to apply these molecular measures of health and aging to modernize the mortality underwriting process for a global industry. Traditional life insurance underwriting relies on clinical measures obtained from invasive blood and urine specimens. The clinical measures are obtained from these specimens to identify our risks of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and other age-related illnesses. This is a horrible customer underwriting journey involving a paramedical collecting a specimen. It creates tremendous sales friction, and it's a significant barrier for people wanting to purchase life insurance. Think about having to ask someone to be stuck with a needle before they can buy your product or service. It's no wonder the industry has lost sales and so much market share. FOXO's answer to this invasive and arcane process is a spit tube. That's it. Spit, send it in, receive a complete mortality profile in the form of a longevity report, and along with it, a fully underwritten life insurance policy designed for your particular mortality profile. This customer journey allows you to take control of your life, stay healthier, live longer, go back to building your legacy, and knowing that you've financially protected your family. This is how FOXO is disrupting the life insurance industry with longevity science. The benefits for extended longevity are huge, not only for individuals and companies, but for our community and economy. Think of the obvious economic benefit a life insurance company would receive if all of their customers lived 1, 2, 3, or 4 years longer, and how that economic benefit could and would spill over into the greater community and economy. It's right there. It's right under our nose. We just have to recognize and embrace longevity science through a lens into our business strategy as we shape our products, market them, and roll them out to consumers. Extended longevity has the power to unleash untold economic value. Our life expectancies have been rising, but so too have our medical expenditures. We are now at a point where we need to focus on health span, not just lifespan. That value, reported in Nature in a recent study, suggests it could be worth over $367 trillion over a decade if we could just extend healthy life expectancy by 1 year. Similar studies say the same. This is an untapped economic value that we will simply unleash into our community and economy by bringing improved prosperity to future generations by focusing on healthy longevity. It's an interesting fact that by focusing on our own personal healthy longevity, we can actually free up resources for the greater good. More resources for schools, more resources for healthcare, more resources for the environment, and so on. And of course, for most of us, on a personal level, spending more time with our family and those we love through healthy longevity. As Sinclair has said, why wouldn't I want another 50 years of life? It's because I'm finally getting the hang of it, and I couldn't agree with him more. Today, we can laugh about French nobles drinking gold in search of everlasting life, and it's easier for critics to do the same by poking fun at Silicon Valley's renewed emphasis on longevity. But let's be clear, we aren't here to spread the notion that we can live forever. We are here to help people live better, longer, through the products and services we offer. Thank you.